Hey, welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about one of history's most fascinating and honestly most useful thinkers, the Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca. You'll see that the wisdom he came up with during some seriously chaotic times is still an incredible guide for our own crazy world. So let's just start with a question that probably hits a little too close to home for a lot of us. Do you ever get to the end of the day and just think, where did it all go? Like you were busy all day, but you feel like your time, your most precious resource, is just slipping away? Or how about this one? Do you ever feel completely overwhelmed by the constant stream of news, the things you have to do, all the pressures from the outside world? It can leave you feeling kind of powerless, right? Well, it turns out 2,000 years ago, Seneca was offering a powerful toolkit to deal with these exact feelings. So, yeah, let's dive in. Now, to really get Seneca's philosophy, you have to get the man himself. And let me tell you, he wasn't some monk meditating on a mountaintop. Not at all. He was a complicated, incredibly powerful, and, you could say, a deeply contradictory guy living right in the middle of all the action. I mean, his life was a total roller coaster. He was born in Spain, but he climbed the ladder all the way to become one of the most powerful men in Rome. He was the tutor and top advisor to the, let's say, infamous Emperor Nero. He got ridiculously rich and had immense influence. But being that close to absolute power, well, it came back to bite him. That very same emperor ended up ordering him to take his own life. And this is where it gets really interesting because you have this central conflict in his life. Here's a guy who was one of the wealthiest people in the entire empire, yet he wrote these incredibly powerful essays on why luxury is a trap and why we should all live a simple life. But, it's not really about him being a hypocrite. It's more that he was trying to figure all this out from the inside, and that's what makes his advice so real and so useful for us today. So you might be wondering, how did he even deal with a life like that? The answer is his philosophy. Seneca's writings are basically a set of mental tools, a toolkit designed to build a tough, resilient mind that can find peace no matter what's going on around you. So we're going to unpack 5 of his biggest ideas. We're talking about how he saw time, what he thought about control, hardship, wealth, and even death itself. Think of it as the Stoics' essential toolkit for living a good life. All right, first up is a huge one, right from his famous essay on the shortness of life. And this is a serious wake-up call about the one thing we all have and the one thing we all waste. Just let that sink in for a second. The real problem isn't that our life is too short. The problem is that we waste so much of it. We just give away our precious minutes to things that don't matter, to pointless worries, to people who drain our energy. He says we should be greedy with our time because it's the only thing you truly can never ever get back. And this idea that time is our most valuable asset leads right into his view on the trap of wealth. Remember, Seneca knew what he was talking about. He was one of the richest men around. He saw firsthand that money can't buy you real happiness or a meaningful life. He warned that wealth can become your master instead of your servant, and chasing after it often costs us the very thing we should be protecting, our time. True wealth, for Seneca, wasn't having a lot of possessions. It was having very few wants. Okay, so if we're supposed to be protecting our time and not getting caught up in chasing external things, how do we handle our own minds, our internal world? Well, this brings us to the core Stoic techniques for mastering your own thoughts. This right here might just be the single most important, most practical idea in all of Stoicism. It's called the dichotomy of control, and it's basically a simple filter you can run your whole life through. Just separate everything into 2 buckets, stuff you can control and stuff you can't. Your focus, your energy should only ever go into that first bucket, your own thoughts, your choices, your actions. Everything else, that just requires acceptance, not anxiety. This changes everything, especially how we see the difficult things that are outside our control, the setbacks and hardships. For Seneca, this even applied to the biggest thing we can't control, our own death. He thought fearing death was a total waste of a good life. Instead, he said we should think about it, not to be dark and gloomy, but to actually appreciate the present moment and live without that fear hanging over us. And this is it's a brilliant way to look at life. Every challenge becomes a workout for your soul. Getting stuck in a traffic jam, that's just a chance to practice patience. A project fails at work, that's an opportunity to practice perseverance. Thinking about the fact that we won't be here forever isn't scary. It's the ultimate motivation to live a good life, right here, right now. Okay, so let's bring all this home. We've talked about Seneca the guy, and we've talked about his big ideas. But the real question is, why should any of us living today care about a Roman philosopher who died almost 2,000 years ago? Because his ideas have never been more relevant. I mean, just look at this. That Stoic practice of focusing on what you control, your thoughts, that's the philosophical ancestor of modern cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, one of the most effective therapies we have. His idea of seeing adversity as training, that's literally the definition of resilience training. And his whole thing about prioritizing time over stuff, that's the heart of intentional living and minimalism today. That's not an exaggeration. The exact same principles Seneca was writing about in his letters are now the foundations for scientifically backed therapies and self-improvement strategies we use all the time. The guy was thousands of years ahead of the curve. It's incredible. And that really is Seneca's greatest gift to us. He shows us that philosophy isn't some dusty, academic thing for debating abstract ideas. No, it's a practical, hands-on guide for how to live a better, calmer, more meaningful life every single day. So, if you only remember one single thing from all this, let it be this right here. This is the core of Stoicism, boiled down to one simple, powerful instruction. It's a filter you can apply to literally any situation that's causing you stress or worry. And I'll leave you with that question to think about. Seriously, what is one worry, one frustration, one thing you saw in the news that is taking up your energy, but you have absolutely zero power over? What would it feel like if you just decided right now to let it go?